So is the laser perk worth it? Generally speaking, most actual laser weapons are kind of like low quality or mid, if you will. But the actual perk itself can be useful because there are certain weapons that benefit from it in unique ways. So one of those weapons happens to be the particle beams. So things like Boom Boom, which eventually will show up in stores at level 20 onward, which is a high damage hybrid physical slash energy shotgun that benefits from lasers as well as particle beams to scale its damage. Same thing for the Nova Blaster. So you can scale the particle beam weapons that deal actual damage with lasers, particle beams, and then shotguns, lasers, particle beams, then pistol. So you have 3 different perks to target them. So if you plan on using Boom Boom or something like that, it's really worth it. There's also currently what appears to be a bug where if you use the cutter on terramorphs and it sets them on fire, it does insane damage. It might be the case that any laser weapon that sets them on fire does crazy damage, but the cutter has a fast attack rate, so the 5% chance to set a target on fire will trigger quickly because you hit so quickly with this weapon. So I'll demo this here. So heavy weapons, if you get heavy weapons plus lasers, the cutter can be okay at killing like weak enemies on very hard mode. So let's attack this guy. Now if you hit them in the head, it will deal decent damage. It does run out of ammo though, and you have to kind of like wait for it to recharge. But you can see it's dealing like 7. Against terramorphs, they like instantly die for some reason. It's really weird. But you can kind of do like one of these. Set them on fire. And multiple stacks of fire can occur. Obviously, it's a dangerous weapon to use. But look how much fire damage he's taking. It's kind of crazy. You do have to be careful, because the damage output isn't that high with this thing. So you can't easily die. But against the lower health enemies, like the lower level enemies, you can kill them pretty quickly. So it's good at like cleaning up bad enemies, we'll say. A lot of explosives in this area. You do have to track and get headshots. But let's talk about what perks, like how much of this should you get? Should you get the burn and so on? Alright, so if you plan on using the particle beam weapons like Nova Blaster and Boom Boom, or I'm sorry, it's not called Boom Boom. Big Bang. They're both like B alliterations. So the Big Bang weapon, you want to get at least this. Now, the set chance, like the chance to set on fire is definitely better if you plan on using Big Bang, because it shoots multiple shots and each one of those shots rolls a 5% chance to set a dude on fire. This is also true for crits. So if you plan on running the pistols, I would recommend just getting lasers 3. If you plan on using the Big Bang, then getting rank 4 can be decent. If you want to use the cutter to cheese terramorphs, that's a viable option too. Now there is the arc welder. It's kind of a meme. I don't recommend it. The Orion rifle might be good with proper use, but it seems like the damage scaling would come from lasers and rifle certification. So you'd be getting 60% damage on your Orion, and you could go for like crits and then sharpshooting and go for headshots. That would be a way to leverage lasers. But overall, for like starting weapons, I feel like laser as a perk isn't like the best thing, because the best weapons that leverage this perk are the particle beams, and you can just spec into shotguns early, and then when you get the particle beam shotgun, which is just the Big Bang, you can start getting particle beams and then start getting lasers. And also note this, particle beam weapons have plus 5% crit. This is pretty substantial, because if you're using a shotgun, each one of those pellets rolls for a crit. And then when you get marksmanship up, you have plus 20 crit chance just from the particle beams 4 and then marksmanship 3. And also for pistols, pistol kills grant plus 25% crit. So you get plus 5 crit from your beam 4. And then you get plus 25% for 5 seconds when you get a kill. So that's plus 30. And then you can get plus 15 more. So you can stack crits with these particle beam weapons. So using lasers as some bonus damage on those is definitely worthwhile. But the main laser weapons themselves are quite bad. And there aren't really too many good laser weapons, if any. Most like the truly good laser weapons are basically just the particle beam shotgun and pistol, which is called the Nova Blaster. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I just wanted to go over the lasers, the use cases. Now, they might patch the burn thing, melting terramorphs, because it does completely ruin the challenge of that entire quest line, where the terramorphs are supposed to be really difficult to fight. Essentially, the burn damage is just so high it melts their health in like fractions of a second as they get burned. However, the cutter with heavy weapons isn't bad. You do have to track and get headshots, and then you have to regen your ammo. It doesn't regen passively if you switch weapons, so you have to be mindful of that. But the burn, if you get enough burn on something, so like look at all this burn, you can get multiple stacks of burn on things, and if you headshot, it can kind of stagger. So there's like a little bit of a burn. So you can kind of do like hit and run tactics. It's good for ammo conservation if you're using a heavy weapons build. But outside of that, like if I start using my actual weapons, like this minigun, there's no reason for me to be using the cutter if I have enough ammo on this. It just melts things, so yeah, as like a heavy weapon, it's kind of a meme. As a rifle, it's kind of a meme. There's definitely better like physical rifles. As a main weapon category, it's not really the best. And what you really want is something else, you know, some kind of high damage pistol, high damage rifle, high damage shotgun. Even melee build is probably more effective than lasers, so it's arguably one of the worst things in terms of raw combat unless you're using particle beam shotgun, in which case then you get all this damage scaling, and then you can also get the burn chance, you can get the crit chance, and then you can also get the stun chance. So then you have a very interesting shotgun that gets damage scaling on both its physical and energy sides per perk. The shotgun scales both, the particle beam scales both, and the laser scales both. I tested it. I used console commands to test it because I didn't have time to make a build for it yet, but I will officially make a build for it and try it out in an actual gameplay. But yeah, this is pretty decent as a secondary perk. As a primary perk, not so much. Don't really recommend it. You're better off going with a weapon type or ballistics if you plan on using ballistics, but if you want to use particle beam, go shotgun first, and then get particle beams, and then go lasers. So you get this to 4, get this to 4, get this to 4. And you need to hit like level 20 before you can give the particle beam shotgun, so debatable. Like you would use just normal shotguns for most of the game, and then start speccing into particle beams after you get the actual weapon you want to run. But there's other good shotguns. The particle beam shotgun does have high damage output, so it is quite strong. And the fact that you get 90% damage increase on it, which is almost double damage, and it has, I think, like 14 base damage and then 94. And you can also use weapon engineering to boost its damage up even higher. So it can reach like pretty high damage numbers, like maybe like 500 damage a shot, and then you can factor in headshot damage. So you're looking at like 1k damage for accurate headshots with high chance to crit, and then you can go for like marksmanship to get your crits up, and then sharpshooting to get that crit damage up even higher. So then you're just constantly rolling for like shotgun headshot crits, or you can go for the pistol crits. But yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you found this useful. Overall, I don't recommend investing in lasers. It's like a secondary thing that complements some decent weapons, but as a primary thing, it's just not there yet. We need actual laser weapons, unfortunately. And the best thing is the cutter, and it's only good against certain enemies situationally, depending on how resistant or vulnerable to fire they are. All right, that's all for this one. Peace.